The neon lights of the city always reminded you of Dabi. Bright and beautiful and dangerous, they lit up in your face like shades of crimson and violet. You leaned against the cracked brick wall of the alley, just outside the bar. He frequented. It was your third night in a row waiting for him to show up. To give you more than just a half-hearted attention. To look at you the way he did in the beginning, like you were the only thing in his fragmented, scorched world. Instead, tonight he was already inside and you weren't alone in noticing. You saw her. The tall girl with glossy black hair. Her laugh that shattered glass. They seemed to be sitting together. She sat beside him in the bar, sipping something neon green and leaning in a little bit too close for comfort, twirling a strand of her hair on her finger. And Dabi, he didn't even seem to flinch. He let her touch his arm, he said something low in her ear and smiled. Actually, smiled. You felt your stomach twist. You stood in the shadows and watched as his hand brushed against her knee, and watched as she laughed again, a little bit too loud, a little bit too happy. You watched as he threw his head back and took another sip of his drink, looking so relaxed and so comfortable with her. He didn't kiss her. He didn't need to. You waited until they separated, until he headed towards the back door for a smoke, alone, like he always did when he needed air, or when he was just bored. That was your cue. Your boots crunched against the broken glass as he stepped out. You stepped out of the dark. His eyes were icy blue and rimmed with darkness and pain met yours. For the briefest second, you thought he might look guilty, regretful, but he didn't. "Hey, babe," he said, voice gravelly and lazy. "Didn't know you were coming tonight." You blinked. "I didn't know you were busy." He raised an eyebrow, the metal under his eye catching in the flickering light. "Busy?" he asked. "With her?" you said flatly, jerking your chin towards the bar, the one you practically had your tongue down the throat of. Dabi snorted and lit his cigarette. "Please. If I was gonna kiss her, you would have seen it. Don't start shit when there isn't shit." "But there is shit, Dabi," he snapped. "You were flirting with her. You were touching her. You looked at her like she was..." "What?" he cut in, exhaling smoke through his teeth. "Look, she was a distraction." He froze. The way he said it, like it was the best you could ever hope it to be. A distraction. Whatever. It was so shitty the way he put it, but it was true. A distraction from when our fire burned inside him, from the scars and the rage and the loneliness that he refused to unpack. "You didn't even care that I saw," you whispered. He laughed, soft and humorless. "Why would I? You know what this is." Your heart plummeted. "What is this, Dabi? Tell me." He shrugged, taking another jag. "You know I'm not your boyfriend. Well, you know I'm not boyfriend material. Never pretended to be." "No, but you pretended to care. You called me when you were drunk and alone, and you held me when I couldn't sleep, and you let me in, Dabi, only to slam the door when I tried to stay," you hissed. "That's your mistake," he said coldly, flicking ash into the concrete. Thinking this meant something more than it does. You clenched your fist. "It meant something to me." He looked at you. Like, really looked at you. His mouth parted slightly, and Like he was actually going to say something human, something kind. But the moment passed. Instead, he just said, I never promised you shit. And with that, let's be honest, that was the truth, wasn't it? He never promised fidelity. He never said you were exclusive. Never called you his partner. He only ever said your name in the dark when you whispered it. When his guard was down, he let you close enough to where you might actually stay. But he never said he would. Still, it hurt like hell. You know, he said quietly, your voice shaking, if you wanted me out, you could have just told me. You didn't have to humiliate me. He raised an eyebrow. You think I'm trying to humiliate you? You didn't even look away, you spat. You wanted me to see. Dabi took a step forward, crowding into your space. You smelled the smoke and the cheap leather of his jacket. Felt the heat rolling off of him in waves, his scars caught in the light like silver wounds. I didn't want you to see, he said slowly. But I didn't care if you did. He flinched. That hurt worse. Ryan, he said, tone suddenly soft but never apologetic. You make this so hard. I make this hard, he echoed, stepping back. You flirt with someone else in front of me, and I'm the problem? He ran a hand through his dark, messy hair. I didn't say that. But you meant it, you shot back. He looked away, silent, always silent, guilty but not sorry. And that's when you knew. This wasn't love. And I don't think it ever had been. This was a game where the rules kept changing, where you were the only one playing fair and your counterpart wasn't. You thought maybe if you stayed long enough, if you loved on him hard enough, he would stop pushing you away and he'd pick you. But Dabi doesn't pick people. He scorches them. You inhaled sharply, trying to hold it back the sting in your eyes. I'm done, you said. He didn't stop you. He didn't grab your arm. He didn't plead. He just smoked a cigarette and stared at the sky like nothing of value was slipping through his fingers. And you walked away. And though he didn't follow you, you knew that when he went home, he'd look into that empty space on his mattress and he'd think of you. Not really with regret, but with that same hollow ache that always got carried out. The one even fire couldn't burn. Because you were never his. Not really. But he was almost yours. And somehow, some way, that almost hurts the same. And that night felt colder without you in it. Dabi leaned against the wall behind the bar, cigarette long and dead between his fingers. He didn't really remember letting it out. Didn't care enough to light another one. The girl from before, whatever her name was, had already wandered off, probably realizing she was talking to a ghost in someone else's skin. He didn't even know why he bothered with her. Just another girl with sharp eyeliner and a voice like broken glass. Nothing like you. And maybe that was the point. Because you made things real. Too real. And Dabi couldn't afford real. He watched the sidewalk you disappeared down. The way you didn't even look back. Not once. Not even to yell. That was worse than the final scream. That silence was final. That silence meant you believed him when he said he didn't matter. But it did. Hair up the back of his neck, fingers brushing over the staples in the scar tissue. Your voice still rung out through his head like a fire crack. I'm done, it repeated in his mind. You'd heard that from people before, from others, from people who thought they could handle the mess he was, who thought they could fix what was already ash, but none of them were you. None of them knew how to touch him like you did, carefully, like he was something breakable and not dangerous. None of them stayed with him through the nights, said he couldn't breathe. None of them whispered his name like a lifeline when the nightmares came too close. And he'd let you do all that. He should have shoved you away the moment you got too close. Should have told you to run when he saw the softness in your eyes. But he was selfish. He liked it. He liked the way you held him, even when he didn't ask, especially then. You always saw through the smoke and the scars, and maybe that's why he panicked. Because being seen meant being known, and Dabi didn't know how to let everything happen without setting it on fire. So he flirted with a stranger, gave you the show, and dared you to leave. And you did. He should have felt victorious, free, but all he felt was that empty space again. That cold, sharp silence that came after every single bad decision. Bridges burnt but never rebuilt. He didn't even go after you. He couldn't. Not because he didn't want to, but because he was afraid you wouldn't even be able to lie again. And if he looked you in the eye, I never promised you shit. The words tasted like poison now, like betrayal. Like he'd spit them just to make you flinch. And worse, to make you believe them. And if he did promise you something, even if it wasn't in words, he'd promise when he'd let you rest your head on his chest, and when he kissed you, and he kissed your wrist after your hands would shake, when he opened up to you like no one else got to hear the things that he said that night, like his mother's lullabies, or how blue used to be his favorite color before he became so monstrous. He promised all of it without saying a damn thing, and then he broke it. He hated how he always did this, how he turned good things ugly, how he turned venom to vulnerability, how he lit every single bridge on fire just to prove he didn't need to cross them. He shoved a hand in his jacket and pulled out a lighter, flickered it open, then shut again, and again, then again. The rhythmic click always calmed him, but tonight it just made the silence louder. Would you ever come back? Would you ever believe him if he said he was sorry? Hell, he was sorry. He wanted to be. But sorry didn't come easy to someone like him. It didn't undo the touch on the other's leg. It didn't ease the way that you looked at him when he brushed past you like you didn't matter. He closed his eyes and leaned his head against the wall, letting the metal staples press into the cold brick. You mattered, and that was the problem. You mattered too much. He thought about texting you, opening his phone and seeing your name again, typing some half-assed apology he couldn't even say in person. But what would he even write? Hey, didn't mean to destroy you tonight. Come back, I miss you. You're the only thing that's ever felt like home. He couldn't send it. Not when he didn't know how to be that kind of person. Not when he was still the kind of man who watched and the people he loved walk away and did nothing to stop it. The alley felt too tight, too suffocating. He pushed off the wall and started walking away. He didn't know where he was going, just somewhere that wasn't here. Every shadow reminded him of you. Every voice that passed on the street sounded like yours, when you were crying, when you were angry, when you were trying not to cry. And that kind of hurt worse than anything he could burn. Eventually he ended up back in his place, the mattress still unmade, and the curtains still open. And your hoodie still laid on the back of his chair. He told you to leave it last week, said he liked the smell. He picked it up now and pressed it to his face, but it didn't smell like you anymore, just stale smoke and regret. He sat down, elbows on his knees, hoodie in his hand, and stared at the door like he might just walk through. But he wouldn't, and he knew he had no one to blame but himself. Maybe tomorrow he'd find the words. Maybe he'd come to find you, but maybe he'd try. But tonight he just sat there in the dark, hoodie clenched in his fist, surrounded by all the things he almost got right. Because he almost doesn't want to keep you warm, he needs. It almost wasn't enough. Well, not enough for someone like you.